All right, we're good. Victor, man, how you doing, brother?
Good, man. Can't complain. Another day alive, doing my thing, training, staying active.
Were you running right before you came in here?
Yeah, I made sure, like, if I wasn't going to train at all, I was going to do something. So I made sure, I got to run in, I got to swim in, and then I finished off with a run. So I do like a run, swim, run sometimes when I'm bored, I guess.
When you're bored?
Yeah, because one, I hate to run, and swimming, I'm like okay at. So it's some things that I guess I'm a little uncomfortable with, or I just don't like doing. And then when I know I got to stay active, I'll do them just for the hell of it.
Well, that's awesome, man. That you think that way, that you want to jump in and do the things that make you uncomfortable.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I feel like that's one of the biggest challenges I've been trying to take down. Like, just absolutely try to like think about what makes me uncomfortable, feel it, and then try to beat it.
Right.
So
right.
big things like
that's
running.
Good for the mind too, bro.
Dude, and that's why I feel like I do it on purpose, especially with running and swimming, is because like it's so brutal, and I'm not the type of one like, oh, I'm just gonna run a mile, come right back. Like, dude, I'm kind of used to like running 3-4 miles and just like trying to beat time for no reason. Like, I'm by myself, but I'm trying to beat me in a way. So I feel like that's what makes it mentally challenging. But once I accomplish it, I feel good. Like, I'm like, all right, today I beat you.
Yeah, that's good. That's kind of like your Instagram profile, self versus self.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why I keep it that way. It's kind of just me versus me. And
awesome.
I take that challenge with everything. Simple stuff too. But yeah, today I had to run, got to swim, and then now I feel better, calm, be able to talk and do our thing.
Yeah, man, I get that completely. Like, if I don't train or if I don't do something at least active, let's say I don't go to the mat, or I have to do something. If not, I feel like my head's getting everywhere.
Yeah, dude, I feel like even small things. I think I've gotten a little bit out of doing simpler things, which aren't so mentally challenging, because you could just, go for a simple walk, enjoy nature, and do certain things that probably will help you still. But man, I just like pushing the limit.
Yeah, that's interesting. So first of all, thank you for your service.
Appreciate it.
Veteran from the Marines, right?
Yeah.
How long were you in the Marines for?
So I did close to 6 years.
Okay.
Most of it I did just in Yuma, and then I pretty much took away and went to the other side of the world for a couple of years.
Oh yeah. Oh, shit. My bad. So how was that experience for you?
It was life-changing for sure, because, I got out of high school and probably like 2 months later, I was gone to the military. And, it was like fast. Like, my mom actually thought it was a joke. And then the recruiter pulled up and was like, oh, here's the paperwork. You got to sign it. And it wasn't that they needed really to sign much, because like I was already pretty much 18 going in.
Right.
So I was like, yeah, I'm gone. They're like, yeah, sure. And then 2 weeks later, it was like, I'm gone.
And were you living in? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, at that point, I was living in Texas, man. I moved pretty much my whole life. So like I grew up in Detroit, and then we moved to Texas, and that's pretty much where like sports started for me. I started playing basketball, doing football, pretty much anything I could try. And I was pretty athletic. And then after that, I was like, man, I'm not going to do anything, because I'm not really at that point in my life, like very studious.
Okay.
I wasn't the one to like, hey, like I want to go to school. Like, no.
Right.
I was pretty much a jock in school away. So I got away with a lot, and it was cool just to be able
You got away with a lot?
Yeah. Like, I could easily be they knew I was part of the basketball team, like the varsity team. So everyone was like, oh, like if you show up to class a little late, it's all right. So it was a little leeway for me, certain things I didn't have to do. Or like if a game came up, we're going to go shoot around before the game. You're not going to expect me to be in class just hearing you.
Yeah.
I got to warm up. I got to do other things that are important. But at that point, like I was living in a small town. So I wasn't thinking like, oh, I'm going to go to college.
Yeah. But I mean, I think that's good, dude. Also at 18, like using or going to the military and giving yourself time to grow, allow you to really find your interest. I think that's a good thing. Maybe jumping into college sometimes right out of high school isn't the best decision.
Yeah, I think because of the pace too. And I feel like that's kind of what's been the biggest characteristic for me, is the pace of it. Like I feel like college would have been way too slow.
Okay.
And for me of developing, I would have just rode the wave and try to be as chill as I could be.
Right.
But then with the military, it was like, as soon as I got in, it was fast. Like you got to be at a pace and keep up with it. If not, like you're far behind.
Yeah.
Because you're learning so many things, and it's a shockwave of life. Like when you're going compared to being a high school kid and being with your family.
Yeah, man.
Until being alone, and they're literally like on the clock. Like
that's got to be a crazy experience going from like you said, going with your family and then going into the military in that face-to-face environment. Like it's got to be kind of shocking and scaring at the same time.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, like at 18, you're probably not the grownest man in the world,
right.
But you're still going into a room with nothing but grown men. And it's training, it's, drama, whatever you can think of, because everyone's trying to learn the same material at a fast pace. And obviously it's like in jiu-jitsu, not everyone picks it up as soon as you throw it at them.
Right.
Like they need time to develop it, pick it up, either study it or read it. But they are on a program where obviously it's like, we only got limited time to teach you everything. So
That's interesting, man. Do you think that that helped you? Are you able to pick up things a lot quicker now because of that?
Absolutely, bro. I feel like that helped me with jujitsu, even in my military life. Like, man, I wasn't used to some of the things that we had to do. Like, and then you got to learn it real quick, adapt to it, and figure it out. And that's literally how jujitsu was. You know, I jumped into it face first, and dude, first day got annihilated by everyone that I never knew, kid, adult, whatever. And I was like, there's no way. Like, I'm comparing that I'm coming from a military life where athleticism or being strong or being smart kind of helps you.
Right.
And then you go into a gym and it's like that's all out the window.
Right.
Like they just know more than you because you haven't been putting the time, you don't have no experience. So it was like shocking. And I was like, all right, I love this. Like keep going.
That's
keep going.
awesome, dude. That you had that mentality going in. Like when you started at a gym, you kind of had that mentality to take the annihilation or the aspect that you get the first that everybody gets the first day.
Oh, absolutely. And I feel like that's a life changer because some people won't come back.
Yeah, a lot of people will come
And
back.
it's like that was the thing. Like, oh no, bro. I went the first day, I got beat up and I can't do it. It's like some of us are, I guess, wired differently where
Right.
like it ignites us and it's like, oh no, I gotta come back. And that's how it was for me.
So when did you what was the decision that brought you to starting jujitsu and getting into grappling?
So I guess like to keep it in the same thing, you know, I was in the military and they have a small program, right? But the thing that they're teaching us, obviously, how to war fight. We're
Right.
not just learning jujitsu. So you're learning different parts, different pieces of fighting in general or martial arts, and they put it in a program, piece it up together, and teach it.
Right.
But there's also a belt system, so it's
Oh,
similar to
cool.
jujitsu. So technically, you could be a white belt, blue belt, purple, get your whole all the way to black.
Right.
But then afterwards, the program and learning everything, you'll get to a point where you can actually become an instructor. So that's kind of where I went the route. I lucked out that when I was in Russia, my boss was like, "Yo, you want to do it? Like, I'm one instructor, but I'm out of here. So there's a course coming. Do you want to go?" I was like, "Dude, I've been begging for this. Like, I'm down to go." So I pretty much went from Russia to Virginia to go do the course. I did the course, became an instructor, and that's what I started doing, teaching.
That's
Mm.
awesome. Damn, you were in fucking Russia?
Yeah.
That's awesome,
Yeah,
dude.
and I lucked out that like, man, everywhere I've kind of been on that side of the world, something happened where I was like, man, it's luck. Like, I was in Korea during the Winter Olympics, Russia. I got to see the World Cup because like World Cup came to us. Like, I'm not worried about, hey, I gotta fly, I gotta get a hotel. No, dude, like I was living there. Like,
Dude, that's sick.
so watching soccer, say less. Like, well, we gotta buy the ticket. So it was cool. And same thing, like in Korea, I was there during the Winter Olympics. So you get to see sports that like I would have never thought of.
Yeah,
Like,
man, that's fucking awesome.
yeah, big time. And I'm 18 to like 22, somewhere around there.
Dude, that sounds better to me than going to college and taking these bullshit classes in English and all that stuff, which is the route that I took. Like that sounds a lot better for somebody to grow as a person than going and sitting in a class.
Yeah. And it also was like, again, a shock. Like, bro, I was like 19 getting set somewhere and like you couldn't read anything, bro. It was in a whole nother language.
That's
Like,
true.
they don't speak our language. Like, it was completely different. And what are you supposed to do? Just sit in a room and do nothing? No, you got to adapt, bro.
Right.
But jujitsu kind of like does that to me now. So I feel like that's what also keeps me doing it.
Also, those similarities is what got you like essentially those similarities of having to adapt is what kind of keeps you training jiu-jitsu and training grappling.
Absolutely. So then, like in the Marine Corps, they had that program. I did that, and then I moved back to Michigan as soon as I got out. And bro, I started at a gym that somebody knew, and bro, that gym was crazy. And then I moved to Miami just because same thing. I was like, man, I don't want to go back somewhere that I know, so let me go somewhere I don't know.
So you just decided Miami to move to Miami.
Moved. And then like people were like, nah, you ain't gonna do it. So then I ended up moving, and then
Just like they
here-
told you when you started, you were going to go to the military.
Yeah, and it was like a constant thing, like, oh no, you're not gonna do it. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna do it. And just beating those challenges. So then, yeah, I moved to Miami. I kept with the jiu-jitsu journey because I was like, man, I just started this journey. I'm still not good at it, but I like what it brings to me. And then boom, I started gym hunting. I started doing that. And then literally, bro, since I've been here, that's how I met Melo.
Yeah.
And as a white belt, I would ask him hella questions.
That's a good
hella
point to meet somebody that understands jiu-jitsu the way that he does.
Yeah, at that point he was a brown belt, so like he was running like classes at night doing this, and we're like, all right, cool, let's learn. And bro, he was never not willing to teach.
That's
like
awesome, dude.
even on off time on the side after he was tired, like we would ask him like, yo, what about this, what about that? And he kept going, and then pretty much that's who I followed here, and that's why I've been training.
Yeah. So was there like a point that were you automatically hooked when you started doing jiu-jitsu, or was there a point that you're like, okay, this is something that I want to focus on and develop?
I think off rib, dude. In the beginning, it was literally I trained so much because I saw the fitness part of it, or like how much it was grueling on the body, and you would have to recover. You had to eat right. You had to do certain things to keep going with it. And then I started competing right away.
Okay.
Like as a kid, I've always been competitive. I played basketball, all these sports, but at a competitive level. So it was like when I got to jujitsu, nothing less. It wasn't,
Right.
I'm gonna be a hobbyist. So I started like training 2 weeks later from I got from Miami. I did my first comp, and then ever since
Wait a
then,
second, wait a second. So the first week that you got to Miami, you did your first competition?
no, 2 weeks after I moved,
Two
because I was
weeks.
like gym hunting and stuff. And then that's when a new breed happened. I'm like, bro, I'm gonna try it. Like, what do I lose?
Yeah, you don't lose anything. That's pretty ballsy because you're in a new place.
Correct.
And then being in that new place, you're like, oh, I'm still gym hunting. I'm going to do a new breed. Why did you decide to do the new breed, to jump in? Was it to find a gym?
No, dude, it was literally, I think it was just to test myself to see what it was about, what the difference was. And I noticed really fast, like when I jumped in, obviously there's a whole ball game to competing.
Right.
Like in the beginning, it was like I wasn't thinking, I was just about like, let me see what I can compete with someone I don't know, but with risk at it, or like a reward with it,
Right.
because it amps it up. Now we're not just like, oh, let's go to open mat or let's train. Like, no, like it's, I'm going to beat you, you're going to beat me.
Right.
So then I tried it, and bro, that, I guess, feeling, you can't mimic it in many places, not even in the training room.
Not even other sports, really.
No, like that's why I feel like maybe MMA is a whole nother level because there's strikes, but in jiu-jitsu, when it comes to competing, bro, I don't think at the highest gyms, yeah, they might be going super hard, but when someone's really trying to beat you, it's all out. So
That's true.
that hooked me, and then pretty much ever since then, I kept with training, and I pretty much kept with competing.
So what's your mentality when it comes to competing? Like, has it changed? Has it evolved since that first competition?
Oh,
How do you approach competition? I guess my question would be.
Well, even then, from that time to now, I think it's a big difference. Now, obviously, like for me, the stakes are higher, I guess.
Right.
But that's the pressure I put on myself.
Right.
Obviously, there's a growth in jiu-jitsu with all these new events, ADCC, big things where now money's involved. So now people are more hungry.
Right.
Before, even people would laugh about it, like, oh, people are hunting gold medals. But bro, it's pretty much them hunting to beat everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get a reward with it, but even then, everyone starts there and levels up. And now with all these opportunities like ADCC opens to be able to go to big events, bro, you got to be able to stick to competing. And that level of like mentality, I feel like it's changed because now you got to prep. If you don't prep properly, you're screwed.
Right.
If you're just jumping into stuff like you would do a new breed, good luck. You're not winning anything.
So how's that prep look for? Like, how did that prep start for you? I'm guessing that there was no really preparation for that new breed competition that you did. What kind of step did you make to get to the way that you prepare for competition now, and how does that look like?
So now with competing, I've always been diet well. Obviously, we got to stay lifting, stay training a lot. Going to different seminars, I guess, compared to how I used to think. And now a lot of people have opened up different ways of training. Like, bro, you don't have to roll hard every day.
Yeah.
Like now, drillers makes killers, but it's honestly the truth. Like some of these guys barely row and drill all day, but the time that they put in the mats obviously gives them that experience and that reward that when it comes to competing, it's clockwork.
Right.
Clockwork.
Right. You don't even think about it. It just falls into place.
Yeah. So then for me right now, competing, I literally stick to a clean diet, try to lift, train as much as I can. And now I'm adapting to that new feeling of like, should I drill more? Should I roll harder? Like, and testing those waters because, man, these are people at the highest level telling us these things.
Right.
Like, we're going to seminars in different states, or they come here and we try to test because we're willing to learn and we want to learn. But you pick up those small details that like, oh, that's why you're that good.
You pretty much, based on the Instagram and the food that you post, which you got to tell me where you find your avocados, bro, because what the fuck, all of them look like fresh and they're like perfect. Whenever you make food and those avocados look amazing. But getting back to the point, you're pretty much dieting throughout the year. You're not going through like a camp and dieting for competition.
No, because I feel like that's also where my past helps me out. Like in the Marine Corps, we're on the clock all year round.
Okay.
So you can't, there's not really an off season, but the cleaner you eat, the longer you last. Because with anything,
no, that's true.
With staying out of town or out of country, being able to be outside, being able to do certain walking, rucking, like if you eat dirty, bro, it's going to be hard for you to stay with us.
That's a good point.
And it's a time thing. Like everyone's on a clock where you got to keep pushing the pace. Now I feel like it's nothing new. All year round, we know we're going to compete. There's going to be competitions all year round, There's no point that, oh, in
That's true.
6 weeks, I'm going to get ready and start dieting.
No, that's a
Bro,
good point. Yeah.
all year round, there's going to be something to compete in.
Yeah, you have to stay
Regardless
kind
if
of
we're
ready.
looking at the highest level, like, yeah, maybe there's trials once a year, every so often, or there's an open here and there. But now with how things are moving, like, bro, you can find it anywhere in America pretty much.
Yeah, man, you get to smoke anywhere.
Anywhere.
Anytime.
So there's no point of really, at least diet wise, to stay like that. With training now training has just adjusted. Before it was like hard rolls, hard training, longer time. But it's kind of been like when I showed up to competing, like I'm already burnt out.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
So now also too, like that's where my experience with the last ADCC, like not used to competing so late because we're training at an earlier time, or maybe we're just not in that mental state where like all day you're in that mindset, like,
Yeah,
hey, I'm
man.
up to kill, and
Yeah.
then you show up and it's like, dude, I'm already burnt out.
Dude, yeah, you get exhausted if you have like we were talking about the ADCC Open in Orlando. I think it was last year.
Yeah.
So we were about to talk about that, and I'm guessing from what you just said that it started late.
Dude, yeah, it starts late, so you obviously have to prep.
Yeah,
And
man. Mentally, it's got to be exhausting.
mentally and even physically, bro. If you're not eating during the day, you're not doing certain things that you're not accustomed to, you're obviously gotta adapt.
And is it hard? Like when I used to compete in judo, if the day of competition, it was hard for me to eat. I could eat after the first match, but I couldn't eat before. Did you have like an issue like that?
Dude, honestly, and that's something I'd have to work on because during competition, it's hard for me to eat.
Yeah.
Like I'll eat either since I know the tournament's gonna last a little longer, or I know I'm gonna train or compete in the afternoon. Yeah, I'm gonna have my breakfast, deal with it, but also adjusting to that because like I feel like I'm doing too much math. Like in the morning, oh, I'm gonna compete all day. I gotta have this size of a breakfast, and then you get there and you're like crashing.
That's a good way to put it. It's like too much. It's like too much. It's like too much math. Like it's too much like mental work.
For sure.
And it's just you're gonna compete that day, I think some people oversimplify it, but the mental stress, I guess you would call it, or mental part of competition is very big. It's such a big part of it, you know, going into compete, and then like you said, going in, okay, now I'm going to compete, and that rush of energy that you get right before you compete is pretty big. How do you prepare for that? Like, how do you stay calm? I guess you would say stay calm.
Yeah, I think it's still something as a young competitor I'm still learning.
Okay.
Like staying calm under the fog, you know, because also too, like you're watching around everyone coming as fast as they can. And again, they're coming with that emotion, like I'm here to beat you.
Right.
So being able to prep for that mentally, I still have that like like figuring out where I'm at in that wave, because sometimes I'm too amped up and then I get there and it's adrenaline rush.
Right.
Sometimes I'm too calm and it takes forever to warm up.
Yeah.
And it's weird, but it's something I guess with the longevity of jiu-jitsu where you learn how to adjust and adapt to these things or new lessons.
Right.
Because right now I feel like, yeah, bro, I'm either too high, too low.
Dude, but that's a good, like I was watching one of your fights, White Lion fights. I think the guy's name was Isaac. I could be wrong.
Oh yeah, I remember.
Isaac. I think it was Isaac. And you started off slow, but as soon as you got in a bad spot, you turned on. And it was like night and day. Was that like a moment that you felt that you came in too calm?
Yeah, and that's the same thing. Like, bro, sometimes after doing so many,
you were in a bad spot and you fucking turned it on, and then it was like a completely different competitor.
Dude, and that's the same thing that kind of happened to me when I went to Chicago. You know, I also had a super fight out there. I fought a really good guy, and like it's a 10-minute match, sub only. Changes the game because at that time I'm a blue belt, so I'm still like, we're not really rolling that long or going that long, and that's no excuse, right? It's just adapting and overcoming. So same thing, bro, putting it on, bro. I was at like way behind. Luckily there was no points. If not, bro, I would have been
but in your mind,
yeah, like, dude, I'm losing in positions, like what's going on? And then same thing, got stuck in after a while, and dude changed it up because I was in a bad spot, bro.
You got pissed.
Dude, he was on my back. I escaped the back and then I turned it on. But the same thing, it's like I can't have those moments where I'm like, oh, I'm in a bad spot. Oh, now turn it on.
No,
like,
that makes sense.
So I feel like that's the same thing. We go back to it. Like the mentality part of it is adjusting to like, hey, man, like as soon as this match starts, it's game on.
Yeah.
And,
but it's also good that you have that way when you're in a bad spot that you to be able to have that, like that trigger.
Yeah.
Of course, it's always good to go in my opinion, to go in and have like a steady level of activity, right? But having that trigger of like, I'm in a bad spot, because a lot of people, when they're in a bad spot, they might even give up in that position. They're like, fuck it, I'm already stuck. But having that like, oh no, fuck this, I'm turning this shit on and we're gonna have a problem. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like it changes the ball game, and it actually, like how you said, it flicks something on where like, bro, I have to get out of here. If not, bro, I'm losing. And there's a lot of people watching you. The stakes again are higher because like, certain accolades, certain things that are on the board for the team, for yourself, like, bro, everyone's watching. So it doesn't feel good to lose. So as
Yeah.
soon as that bad position comes in, or it ignites a fire in me, and I'm just out. The same thing with training. That's why a lot of the guys like, oh, well, you're good in turtle. It's like, bro, because I've learned like over being in bad positions, like where am I safe? Same thing, or like
Oh,
adjusting to rule sets like ADCC, like going to turtle is pretty much a good defense because you can't get really points scored on you
yeah, that's true.
until they move you or they secure a position. But if you keep rolling and keep moving and you end up there, kind of a bad position, but you're
Yeah.
still out of danger for the most
Right,
part
from points
until,
actually.
yeah.
Total points. But so what rule set is the one that you enjoy competing under? I'm sure if you have a preference.
If
Some
I had
people
a
don't.
preference, I think it would have to be like either ADCC or in a rule set where it's like sub only.
Yeah.
Why? Because like, yeah, points are cool, but we're not really looking
I
to
mean, are
win
points
match.
cool? Points aren't cool.
I mean, it depends, right? Like there's been some mean takedowns where people are like slammed or like sweeps
Right.
or throws that like they look cool, but for the most part, like they're gonna put you in a better position for what the end result to still be a submission.
Yeah.
So
Right.
if we're all hunting that or we're all learning different ways of being able to attack or put it on faster,
Right.
then absolutely, I think like sub only beats it all.
Yeah, man. That's what I'm saying. I agree with you 100%. Like I think that the points in terms of finding a winner, I guess I understand it, but as I've said before, I like that jiu-jitsu is the focus is submission. You know what I mean? That's what we're going in for. We're going in for a submission. So I'm not a huge fan of the points, but there's also times like you wouldn't go for certain strategies if the points weren't there.
Yeah, and I feel like this modification or like this new rule set of ADCC, right? Because it's fairly new, it gives you the best of both worlds. That's why a lot of people
That's
love
true.
it because from the guard pullers to the wrestlers,
That's
like
true.
at some point you got to be good at both aspects of the game.
Yeah. Dude, and it also is like a component because at the beginning there's no points, right? And then in the second half there's points. So you got to be able to monitor the time and know how to switch if you were going to like switch your strategy.
Yeah, turn on the trigger, bro. Even if that's a bad position for you, now you know if you pull guard or something happens, you either get a negative or they score on you. So like, you got to know that. So you got to be able to have more of that mental capacity to be able to. I got to look at the clock or have someone in my corner telling me what's going on,
Right.
versus me having to worry about it.
Right.
But at the end of the day, you
That's
got to
true.
be good at both aspects of the game because if you can't wrestle, the last 3 minutes are rough for you.
Yeah.
And that's just true.
Yeah.
If you're a good wrestler and the guy is very good at a guard pulling, the first 3 minutes are pretty much where you're really in danger.
Yeah.
Because at the back end, if you're gonna score, you still win that match with points.
Right.
So keeps you safe.
Yeah. So are you shooting for that goal, ADCC goal of going like winning trials and going hopefully to ADCC?
Yeah, absolutely, man. The only reason we didn't obviously like we've got on here and everyone has their reason why, but bro, we were all training for it. And like that camp, I guess we were just going a little too hard or something happened with everybody. Like, you know, I tried to do a duck under and I pretty much like thumb punched somebody in their knee. And like, dude, I like couldn't grab things. I couldn't do certain things. So I was like, there's no way going back to it. I'm going to go into a tournament where like everyone's trying to take my head off.
Yeah, that makes sense. Is that what you're talking? You're talking about the camp with Damien?
Yeah, exactly. It was me, Damien, Steven. We were all like in that same mindset. Like, hey, we got a little steam competing all together. Like, let's keep it pushing. And one after another, we kind of like went down. And I feel like these were all lessons we all had to learn for the next one.
Right.
But yeah, dude, goal is always to go to trials, get it to the top, and go to ADCC. Everyone wants to be up there because why? Those are the biggest dogs, the biggest jiu-jitsu practitioners, and the biggest teachers in the world.
Right.
So to be a part of that, it's an elite level.
Yeah. It's kind of cool that you have people in your gym that are in your weight class or close to your weight class. You have Damon in your weight class. You also have Steven in your weight class. It's kind of cool that you have those training partners to roll around with.
Yeah. It's absolutely cool when it comes to training, but it sucks when we all go compete because at some point, we all have to face each other.
Yeah,
which is not an excuse or it's lame because we do it every day, but like, that's what makes it kind of boring for us. It's like we do this every day.
No, that's a good point. I guess how does it feel going in to compete with somebody that's your teammate? It's gotta be bittersweet. So like if you win, it's good because you won, but it sucks because your teammate doesn't go on to the next match.
Absolutely. And especially like that, like it's a win for you, obviously, on no matter what playing field you think of it. Like it's a chess match, whether it's a friendly like soccer game or any sport, or it's a rivalry, like a win's a win.
Right.
So we all strive for it, but yeah, it's definitely bittersweet when you're like having to beat your teammates for money or like you're having to beat your teammates for just to win a bracket. It's kind of sucky.
Yeah.
But it's gonna happen. We're not gonna shy from it. So
yeah, that's true. Have you guys thought about maybe it's the things, the weight classes, the distance are pretty big, right?
Dude, yeah, they're like from the one we're at now, it's probably like a 15-pound difference.
Yeah,
And that's
yeah.
what like Damien was saying. Like you either got to eat a lot and bulk up, or
That makes sense.
the cut down is going to be absolutely
Yeah, it's
hard.
gonna
It's
be
like
fucking
25, 30 pounds at least.
Yeah, because I think it's like 77 kilos and then 88 kilos or around
Yeah,
that. That's
and it's like what 145 and 165 somewhere around
that's
there.
crazy. And those motherfuckers are cutting. They're not 165 walking around. They're cutting.
No, they're dropping that weight. That 20 pounds, I don't know how they're doing it.
Yeah.
They're not eating. They're spitting in the cup before weigh-ins.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how ideal they do it.
You don't
Like,
cut?
no. I used to do it like, but small weight, like probably 6 to 8 pounds. And since I'm not a wrestler,
Yeah.
I didn't know how to do it.
Okay.
So,
How'd that look?
I mean, it looked kind of rough, but you still got the weight down. The problem was at that point of my jiu-jitsu career, we were competing both gi and no gi.
Okay.
So when you do IBJJF, you have to compete and weigh in with the gi
Right.
when you're doing the gi.
Right.
But that adds weight. So you have to compensate for those things.
Dude, that's so true. Like people think like, oh, you got to cut down to, but it's like that gi's like 4 pounds, right?
Easily.
It's like around 4 pounds.
Easily about 4 pounds. And now when they made the lightweight ones where it's like 3 1/4, like, bruh.
That's true that they have all these like new, I think you have to have like a specific gi now for the IBJJF. I'm not really sure.
Well, I don't know if it's specific. It might just be measurements
Oh,
that
it
they
might
look
be,
for.
right.
Like, obviously,
right, not a
it's been a
specific-
while, but when I was doing it, like, yeah, bro, you pull up with pretty much certain patches you couldn't have. You couldn't have it decked out to the top.
Right.
But when it came to measurements, yeah, they're hitting you with a ruler.
Right.
Could get away with some of it. You know, there's ways of obviously buying gis that are lighter, but
Right.
for the most part, as soon as you get there, they're putting the ruler.
I think that-
checking everything from sleeves. Obviously, if they're too short, because it's hard to make grips.
Right.
There's different things, but it's pretty much fair game when it comes to the weight cut, bro, because it's still bad enough.
Yeah.
3 or 4 pounds just because you're either rocking this, rocking that.
Right.
Like,
Yeah, it's a motherfucker, dude. I think they're coming up with like specific weaves that you have to wear, like the type of weave that you have to wear.
holy.
Yeah, they
'Cause
made this
it's
change this
different
year.
from like the judo one, isn't it? Since you've done
Judo is
judo.
very thick.
Yeah,
Judo
okay.
is a thick, very heavy gi.
Yeah, so
It's not as flexible. It's a very like if you put on a judo. Have you ever put it?
no, I've never done judo besides like one seminar in my life. But
Yeah.
besides that,
Yeah, the judo gi is very. It's a thick gi. The collars are a lot thicker. It's not as I guess you could call it flexible as a jujitsu gi. Jujitsus are skinnier, but they're very similar. The pants are heavy.
so it's just worse because then what? That's like
Dude.
5, 6 pounds.
I think they weigh without the gi. Well, at least when I weighed in, I didn't compete at a very high level, so I
Yeah.
can't tell you what they do in the Olympics or at the
for sure.
nationals. Well, I competed in nationals, but they weigh you without the gi,
Lucky.
and I think the day before too.
I wish they did that.
Yeah,
They also
dude.
changed the weigh-ins for ADCC too.
They did.
Because before, I think we like for actual trials or the bigger one, you had to weigh in every day.
Every day?
Yeah, because it was like a 2-day tournament.
Yeah,
Obviously,
yeah,
so
yeah.
Friday and Saturday they would both weigh in. I think they changed that too, if I'm not mistaken. Where like you only got to do it once now.
That's much better.
It's way better. But
Could you imagine competing? Yeah, exactly. Go.
It'd be brutal,
It sucked, dude.
dude. You cut for that one day, then you try to go eat, come back, and you got to do it again.
Dude.
And the stakes are higher.
Yeah, that's true. Like you weighed in, you competed, you went to eat, bro. You won that first day because you know the ADCC that first day is not gonna be like you're not gonna have any easy fights.
I don't-
Especially if you make it to ADCC. Everybody there is a monster, right? You win that first day and then you have the big day next and you have to cut for that. That's crazy.
dude, that's insane. Like, did you see the last PFL or the PFG thing?
Yeah, man.
Bro, every day they're going at it for a whole week.
I like that rule set though.
That rule set was tough, but every day you're rolling 3 or
For a
4
week.
times for a week.
Yeah, I couldn't catch all of them because there were so many matches, but it was I like how they're doing it.
Dude, I like the rule set. That's a little different.
Yeah,
you know, when
yeah.
it comes to the strangle, the points and stuff like that, or like there was no points. It was just subs
Yeah,
based on
Right.
points,
Right.
or points based on the submission you got, and then time limits too. But besides that, it was pretty dope to
Yeah.
see that much jiu-jitsu in a week, but also like the stakes they're putting again, money, you know, promotions, being able to watch it live. Like, man, now every kid could have watched that on YouTube.
Yeah,
bro.
man.
Come on.
That's great. I like that gets me excited seeing the sport grow that way. And the thing I like about the PFG or PGF,
PGF.
the thing I like about the PGF is that first of all, it's six minute matches, so you have to act like you got to win hard, right? And then not only that, the way that they put the choke over the breaks,
Yeah.
Like it's a kill at 6 points, and then if you do it under the minute, it's another point, and then I think a submission is a break is 3. The thing that I don't get is like the team aspect. Like I don't know how that works. I
It's
think.
probably like based on like again how many submissions the whole team got,
Oh, okay,
and
okay.
then they probably scored in a certain way where like obviously because they were winning team money too.
Oh, okay. I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
yeah. So in the tournament, it was pretty much like the easiest way I can explain it. I guess the way I processed it was like basketball. So the lead 8 make it, then
Right,
they seat you 1 to 8,
right,
and that's for the individual cash. But
right.
throughout the whole week, we've been winning and winning as a team, beating because they were
Oh,
also doing like the 4 guys from one team would fight the other 4 guys from one team,
yeah,
and then
right,
so you're still getting wins out of those 4 or 5 matches that we have, and
right.
then they calculated over the whole week like, hey, we won as a squad.
Yeah, that's dope. That's dope. It makes it more spectator friendly too, which I like. I mean, how do you feel about that? Do you think that they're making jiu-jitsu a little bit more spectator friendly?
For more rule set because in there and in
point.
ADCC they're going off the mat.
Yeah, they are. I mean, spectator in the sense that it's easier. Maybe not spectator. Maybe I worded it wrong. Like not spectator in the sense of people watching it in the arena, but for people that don't understand jiu-jitsu, making it a little bit more digestible in terms of viewership. Like somebody that doesn't know jiu-jitsu, maybe it's a little bit easier to understand.
Oh yeah, dude, absolutely. Because now they're making it again like sports. You got commentators, they got actual like announcers, so it makes it a little bit easier for people who don't know anything to understand. And it's also with the world that we live in with technology, it's way easier to get your hands on it
Yeah, man. That makes
so
it so much better.
fast.
It's better for you competitors, dude, that are coming up.
Dude, big time. Because also too like you're looking at these people at the highest level and every day you're feeding your brain with all this knowledge, and if you soak it up well, it's going to translate to the fight, it's going to
Right.
translate to the mats and everything you do.
So when you're training for a competition, let's say you have a competition, let's say you have ADCC coming up or ADC an open coming up. Do you change the way that you train in terms of strength and condition because of the rule set? You get what I'm saying?
I don't think so much that. I think it's more narrowing down when it comes to the mats that are like change the
Okay.
game, because during a time where we're not competing, obviously like rolling and like testing things are a lot easier versus when we're trying to game plan for a certain rule set.
Right.
Like either the times change during the gym or like the rules change during the gym, where like now we're thinking more, we're absolutely absorbing ourselves or putting ourselves in that environment already. So when it comes to competing at like an ADCC, like we know what time the points are coming on. Because at
Right.
the gym,
That's a
like,
good point.
hey, 3 minutes now you can get scored on.
Right.
And yeah, at the gym we're not like pulling up the scoreboard or like, hey, I scored like this. But at the end of the day, you know,
Right.
as an individual, like, oh, I know from now anything that happens to me is gonna affect me XYZ.
Do you keep score in your head when you're
Oh, absolutely.
yeah.
Especially like obviously when again when we're not in camp, it's much easier just to go at it,
Right.
test new techniques. But when we're in competing, absolutely, man, it's always in the head. Oh, man, he scored here. Oh, I gave up this. Oh, I should have scored there, and keeping up in my head. So again, in my head, I'm winning these certain challenges or losing these certain battles. But it's rather do them now than when they really matter to me or they're really on the line at a
Right.
competition.
Right. So I guess when you're gearing up for those competitions and you have that point aspect to it, there's an element of which you have to keep score and you have to stay focused on what you're doing technically as well. Is that kind of complicated to do in the moment for you? Or is it
Uh,
something easy, or is it just something that comes natural?
I think it's a little bit of experience that's been helping me, but not very natural, because it's easy to know when the time is going on because I've always played sports as a kid. And
Right.
in general, I've played sports. So watching the clock isn't nothing new or understanding certain point aspects of the game. But in my head, I feel like that battle, bro, it's a little different because when you look at the points, you look at the thinking of the clock and training all together, it's a lot of aspects to take into account
Right.
and be able to know what to do because everything's coming at you at a faster rate. So being
Right.
able to quick learner or doing the same things over and over will help you for
Right.
those moments. And it's just time, bro.
How do you prepare for like mentally for a competition? Well, that moth is gonna kill us.
Nah, we're good. Mentally for a competition,
Yeah.
I think it's just sticking to certain things. Like I feel like for me, staying with routines
Okay.
as far as eating, doing little mental things like reading or training, staying focused in those aspects. that when it comes to the competition, it's much easier because it keeps me calm during the fog. And everything I do, pretty much, I do it to a limit where even if I'm training, it puts me in a little fog.
Gotcha.
Reading is something that I've picked up, but I'm not really a fan of. So
Yeah.
like mentally, it's just stressing me, but I'm doing it because again, like these are small battles that when it comes to competition, it's going to relate a lot.
That's a good point, man. Like that's a good point. That I it's interesting that you use routine. I think that routines actually help you declutter and kind of make things. It makes it more of a process that you're accustomed to. So when you get to competitions, I think Nicky Rod says that he doesn't like to make a lot of decisions when he's going to compete.
Yeah.
Like he likes to stay calm, and he has everything set the day before, and all he wants to think about is the competition itself. And I think it's kind of what you're doing with the routines.
Yeah, and it's keeping it that like I focus on certain competitions. When it comes to that, I've done everything else that like it's a routine or the machine's still working the same and I'm not thinking about it.
Right.
So then now it's like, oh, my whole mindset, my whole training, it's all going to that one competition.
That's awesome.
And, you know, I've had success. I've lost a couple, but they're all lessons that I've learned that eventually are going to guide me into a path where like it's going to be much easier to do certain things when it comes to competing, absorbing mental challenges during a role, during a competition role,
right?
Training to that level. Like it's all going to relate and help me.
So do you, when you go and you start to compete, do you have like, I guess like a strategy or game plan going in, or do you just kind of just relay? Like what's your, do you have a strategy
for competition? For sure. Now, especially with the rule set that we're going in, like I've worked a lot on wrestling. So now like I've always think it's been a mental thing where I have to learn that too. Or like, I don't care if I've never wrestled like high school collegiately, but like I'll wrestle with everybody. I'm standing up with you.
Your game, you want all the smoke.
Yeah, exactly. Because I feel like that experience is going to level me up and it's going to help me later on. Maybe today someone's a really good wrestler because they wrestled their whole life and they beat me. But then eventually like I'm going to be the better wrestler and it's going to show.
Yeah.
Why? Because I've never shied down from those challenges.
That's true. Yeah. You like the tough roles.
So I think like for competition, yeah, bro, if you're going to stand, I'm going to stand with you. If you pull, obviously I got to dissect the next puzzle. But for the most part, yeah.
I don't know. You don't seem like a person that would pull guard.
Dude, I think I haven't because I still, for jiu-jitsu wise, it's something that I need something I need to level up because I feel like I'm sitting down and maybe being too lenient or taking too much time to warm up to the match where now like I'm behind.
Oh, okay.
So I really don't like sitting because athletically, like, no, play basketball again, play football. So standing on my feet is fine.
Yeah.
I might lose by an inch or a battle here because you know a little bit more than me. But as far as athleticism and being quick on reacting, like pretty much 50-50.
Yeah.
But obviously when it comes to guard pulling, I really don't think about it unless like during camp, that's all I did. Like, hey, I guard pull for this X reason.
Right.
If not, no.
No, you're not pulling.
No, I'm going exactly based on the smoke. You stand, I stand. You pull, I got to figure it out.
Pick your poison, motherfucker.
Yeah, exactly. I'm picking my poison.
That's awesome, dude. I think that's more entertaining too, or just I prefer that type of grappler that's like, hey, wherever you want to put it, we're going to have to fucking figure it out.
For
you
sure.
know what I mean? I think that's better. It's more entertaining and it's kind of, you want to be well-rounded, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, and that's again where these rule sets help us because you got to be good at both. If you're not good at both, it's gonna show.
Yeah.
And that's gonna show to your training, to what you've done. Like, it's gonna show. So you might as well work it, not be afraid of it, and take it face to face. How you said, hey, if you're gonna stand, I'm gonna meet you halfway, and the better man's gonna win.
You put it on the line. You're like, fuck it.
Fuck it. We got nothing to lose.
That's awesome, dude. So do you think that that your style, I guess you would call it style, or just your tone of a grappler is an aggressive one? Are you an aggressor, or do you kind of change pace depending on who you're facing?
I think I'm an aggressor, bro. I think like it's pretty much the same thing. Like as soon as the hands touch, it's pretty much fair game. Like it's I beat you, you beat me, and that's pretty much how it goes. Obviously, with experience and learning how to wrestle and doing certain things, you're measuring things, you're feeling like push and pull certain things where your opponent's coming on you. But yeah, for the most part,
yeah,
you're head on like a ram. Like, bro, we're going. Either you've trained harder than me or your cardio's better than me or something, and that's where I'm behind. But like as far as being shy from it, nah.
Dude, I think I saw in one of the tapes of you competing, you almost pushed the motherfucker off the mat.
Yeah,
and
if
like
it wasn't for them, I think I would have jumped with him off of it. But it's not like in hard.
No,
I
know.
But it's just things that like we've learned with experience. Like there's other people who've done it.
Yeah.
We've seen it now, like with ADCC, like they're not stopping unless the ref's stopping them.
Yeah, but that's the way you gotta be, dude.
That's the way it's gotta be because I guess they're looking at it in the real fight aspect. Like
Right.
if someone's in a real fight or really needing to defend themselves, it's not like, hey, there's 6 minutes on the clock. You ready? Like, no, they're coming at you.
Yeah.
So if it's at the grocery store or in the mat, like you got to be able to understand that anywhere you could get it.
Yeah.
So you got to be prepped for it because bad things could happen. You could either save a life or you're in jeopardy. And
That's
I'm
true.
not playing that game right now. And I wouldn't.
I'm clipping that. That was awesome. That's one of your clips. But for the ADCC, I also think that the reason they don't stop because the resets are motherfuckers sometimes.
Yeah, and it also puts you in a perspective of also in jiu-jitsu wise when you learn from it, because you also got to look at it from certain realistic standpoints. They're not going to reset you when you got a full choke in.
Yeah.
Why would they, bro? What that time they reset you, then you're going to give them an excuse like, oh, well, we started here.
Yeah.
That's tough, dude. So they got to let you go until whoever's reffing it can make a clear picture like, hey, I can put you guys in this position.
Yeah.
And it's decent enough where like you have time to escape or you guys can scramble out of it and
Right.
get back to it. Not where like, hey, I'm going to put you in the next position and you're going to lose.
Right. So like that brings me to my next question. Like, how do you feel about that karate pit? Talking about that, those scrambles and stuff.
Dude, the karate pit's cool because you could use it, but also too, I like how it's different from the jiu-jitsu aspect because it's all flat. So you, depending on how big the mat is, like in some like who's number one or like big events, like you got a lot of space.
Yeah.
And it's flat versus that little pit, like it closes up on you. So that's why a lot of these guys get stuck there or they're grappling on the wall. Why?
Yeah.
Because like it's a smaller space. So I really like that.
Yeah, man, that's cool. It pushes the action a lot more.
The only thing is like we would all love to have the pit because in a big jiu-jitsu arena or like a big thing like ADCC, it's not feasible yet, but all the flat surfaces or maybe there's too many competitors on one spot or like whatever the case may be that like we're all going to run into each other.
Yeah.
Like, and that's why I feel like super fights or sub only matches are a little bit cooler because it opens it up. Or it shortens it up based on like if you've ever fought in a cage.
Right.
You know?
I think super fights are dope, man. I think it allows you to concentrate on one aspect and you can really show your jiu-jitsu better that way, I think. That's my opinion. And the pit's awesome because it's small. But what you were saying, that pit is also not every like, how are you going to train for a pit? You know, it's got to be hard in these days.
Dude, nobody has one unless you're like really going to go outside, dig one up and be like, hey, backyard pit.
Figure it out, motherfucker.
Yeah. But I mean, that'd be cool.
That'd be pretty dope, yeah.
But for the most part, yeah, everyone in the gym, it's all flat. It's laid out. So there's space to move laterally and forward and back, but you'll run into everybody. That pit brings it on.
Yeah, man.
Or it would be hard to say like shorten the mats because now we're not going to wrestle or do anything because it's, I don't know how it would be, but that karate combat, they got something going.
Craig Jones is a motherfucker. Now he's doing that competition. Do you see that?
Yeah, in Thailand or
like,
in Bangkok or somewhere.
Somewhere over there. It's like he's giving the winner $1 million or some shit like that.
He's giving them. So I guess ADCC pays 10 bands.
Yeah.
And he's giving them 10 and $1.
That's genius, dude.
So I mean, and you also got to look at it in a bigger scale. Like we've all lived in America. Like, to go compete out there, it's probably different. Why? Because a lot of people haven't been there.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't have the funds or whatever. And now you're going to compete. Now you're getting paid. You know, for some of these guys, like incentive, you're staying in your country or going and seeing some other part of the world.
Yeah, that's you gotta go.
You know what I'm saying?
Dude,
but
that's true.
I just hope it's true.
Yeah, man. I don't think he can say that and not be true. That'd be fucked up.
I mean, he's Craig Jones.
Yeah.
I feel like he can pull it off.
He
but
might.
If it's true, that would be hard because the event's gonna be awesome.
Yeah.
Because again, it's another country. It's probably another visual that we've never seen, and he'll probably be able to make it happen. As cheesy as it could probably be too. Yeah. But with the funds and everything.
It's also good, like that the ADCC kind of has I wouldn't call it a competitor now because it's much smaller. And the ADCC is kind of the pinnacle of our sport right now. But it's cool that there's another organization that's thinking about paying the competitors a little bit more. And it's opportunity for you guys. You know what I mean?
It opens up opportunity for us more. And also too, like, again, the competition aspect now, it just means that ADCC is going to get better. Yeah. Either they get better or Craig Jones figures out a way to test them, you know? But that's also with everything in fight promotions, you know, one championship, you got boxing that's got 100 promoters, but like everyone has their little spiel. Yeah. And it opens up doors for us where now you may be able to get in here where you can't get in there, or you get a fight there that will promote you to get you to the next level. Like,
that's great.
More open doors.
And I like that. At least it seems that right now that there's a lot of local, I guess you would call professional promotions that are out there for you guys to compete in. And it kind of can work as a feeder for you guys to go into the WNOs and go into the fight to wins, and then ultimately hopefully get to like karate combat and get to the ADCCs. And I think that that type of platform, or that type of, not platform, that type of opportunities at a smaller scale to then grow is great for you guys.
Dude, big time. And also too, like now where we live in the world of technology, like bro, anything you do anywhere, now anyone can see it.
Yeah.
So if it could be a highlight either of you doing an awesome, sequence, getting a submission, like those are all things that give you exposure and open up doors for individuals to start teaching, get seminars here and there, get new fights.
Right.
So absolutely love it.
Yeah, it's great, man. It's turning into, it's not mainstream, obviously, but it has the potential or the possibility that it could be one day.
Oh yeah, for
and I
sure.
think that's great, man. I think that, first of all, I think that happened because they simplified the rules. You know what I mean? They took off the gi. The gi kind of overcomplicates it a little bit, in my opinion. I think that those gi grips, like, it kind of stalls the fight out.
I mean, yeah, I think it's a different chess match, and obviously it's looked at in a different way.
Right.
But obviously, when we're looking at fast-paced fighting, it has to be without the gi.
Yeah.
Why? Because how you said, those grips are just gonna buy more time or stall you a bit, and it gets boring for people who don't know.
Right.
When people are just don't know anything about fight or any martial art, when they go, all they think about is the pace and if I enjoy it.
Right.
That's why people gravitate to MMA.
Yeah.
Oh, everyone wants to see a knockout. Everyone wants to see someone get kicked in the face. It would probably be the same thing with no-gi jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to see wrestling at the highest level, at the fastest or at high speed. Same thing with submissions, sequences that people are working on. Why? Because that's real time.
Yeah, man. The technology has really changed the game for competitors and jiu-jitsu overall. Like, not only are people learning a lot quicker, they're also being exposed, if they're a competitor, to have more exposure, which can work in your benefit. But it's going to show you, if you're a good competitor, it's going to help you grow a lot quicker. And I think that's great for us.
Yeah, man. It's going to help you grow in general, because either now you stick to the internet and you can find instructionals everywhere and you're spending your time learning and learning and learning, or same thing when you apply it into real time in real life in a competition, the exposure goes over the roof.
Right.
You have all your people sharing, you have people watching it live from all different parts of the world. Shoot, Damien just got his match like broken down by some random dude.
Yeah, I saw that.
Not saying random in a way, because he had so much knowledge, but
I get what you're saying.
From another country or whatever. And these guys are picking up jiu-jitsu from Miami.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, it's going to be different things that they pick up, they pass on, and you're getting bigger fights.
Yeah, it's a good point that you said. That I know you didn't mean random like in a condescending way. Yeah, but some person you didn't know. But what you're trying to say is like, or at least what I think you're trying to say is that you have somebody else that you don't know that's breaking down these fights, and then it has an opportunity for Damon to get this exposure, and it's great. You know what I mean? It allows for other people that wouldn't know him,
absolutely,
to see who Damien is as a grappler.
For sure. And seeing those challenges, obviously, from both levels. Obviously, you're fighting high level competitors. Same thing with ADCC. When people start seeing these matches and seeing all this video and all this real time sequences being done that you see in a gym, that sometimes like, oh, I don't think that would work, or maybe it doesn't help me, and then you see it in real time, you're like, whoa, hold up, think about it twice, and then it applies you in a different way to the game of jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, man, that's true. Like you get to see, because the reality is that I had a friend that came on the podcast, and he was talking about that a lot of jiu-jitsu is also about, you have to take responsibility of your own education, and that facilitates it a lot. The technology has facilitated a lot. Has facilitated it a lot, And I think that's great for us, like, that are trying to learn, that now we can take responsibility of our own learning.
Dude, and that's also where it reflects too in competition.
Yeah.
Like, if you're not studying or you're not actually putting in the time of just watching tape, it would affect you, because there's a lot of people now with the speed of that, bro, they're really spending all day long looking at it.
Yeah.
Either training it, watching it and studying it, or just drilling. Like, they're watching jiu-jitsu all day long.
Yeah.
So comparing someone who does something all day long to someone who's hobbyist or not putting as much time, you're gonna notice the difference.
Oh yeah. Like, if you go as a hobbyist and you're doing 1 hour, which is, there's nothing wrong with the hobbyist. Like,
no, absolutely not.
But if you're doing it, let's just say you're going to class and you're only going to class, you're obviously not going to progress at the rate at somebody that's going to class, studying tape, training, drilling, like taking different types of training, eating correctly, competing, going open mats, all that type of stuff. If one person's doing that, obviously the person's doing all the other extracurriculars. It's going to progress at a faster rate Are you a person that studies a lot of tape?
Dude, I'm learning to get better at it.
Yeah.
Before, I feel like, not that it wasn't tape, but I feel like I'd be watching more live matches because, again, I'm like trying to see things in real time.
Yeah.
Not something like, hey, like if you stand here, you do this.
Right.
Because in a lot of aspects, when it comes to rolling, you're not there
Right.
in that time frame. Like, hey, can you put your knee here so I can do this? So I watched a lot of just highlights, and then now I started realizing how actual studying the game is a lot different when you're focusing on little pieces of the puzzle.
Yeah, and what you're saying is 100% true when it comes to actually like static drilling. Like, obviously there's a benefit from it, like doing static drilling, but realistically, the person that you're doing the static drilling with isn't going to react that way. You know what I mean? And if you just practice static drilling without doing, I guess, like situationals, you're not really going to develop the technique in the correct manner that you need to, just doing the static drilling. But at another point, I'm a person that likes to watch tournaments or match more because it's more entertaining. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
for sure. Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's where attention spans go, and just where we are holding ourselves accountable for that knowledge. Like, some of us, it's easier just to watch matches and see it at a high pace and high level.
Yeah.
Some other people like to break it down because it's easier for their brain to
absorb
it and process it.
Yeah, I think you have to break it down, man. Like, watching matches is great, but I think at some point you got to really just break down the actual technique or the system that they're using.
Yeah, and I think like that's what I'm learning a little bit more, like trying to break down the system at the smaller ends of it.
Do you do it with the competition tape, or do you do it with like instructionals?
I do a little bit of both now.
Oh, okay,
yeah,
okay.
Before it was kind of just watching the match and trying to like rewind it, play it slower, but now I'm like kind of correlating the both of them. Like, oh, if I've seen someone do this at butterfly guard, I might want to go watch something on butterfly guard and put them together.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's probably the best way to do it. Like, you see it in a match, and then you see the technique actually being displayed, and you can kind of combine the knowledge.
Yeah,
that's good. We're wrapping up. Is there anything that you want to promote or anything that you want to talk about that we didn't cover?
Not much about talking. I guess promote. Come by the gym. Come check us out on Sundays, 11 a.m. open mat. If you want to catch me in the gi, obviously in the morning, 5:30.
That's right.
Keeping it chill. And
how's that going?
Dude, it's amazing, bro. It's actually amazing. It's kind of, again, like made me adapt. Like, you got to wake up kind of early, and you got to kind of suck it up, because like, not only do I got to wake up, but I got to have like material or like think of something to teach to people, and it's got to relate. So again, if you're not studying, like, what am I doing?
How are you doing that? How you doing your curriculum? I'm curious.
Pretty much like we've kind of worked on it like with the night class. So keeping it where if you came to the morning, you could also figure it out at night.
Oh, okay.
Or obviously if there's some things, because it's no gi, like foot locks or heel hooks, where like it's not really a thing in the gi,
right?
Then that's where I'll kind of go down my own little rabbit hole. Like, if we were working from a guard from the floor for leg locks, maybe I'll translate it to a sweep, or translate it to like getting into other positions that are actually feasible in the gi.
Right. So that's probably helped your jiu-jitsu too, that aspect of it.
Yeah, man, I feel like it's kind of added more time of knowledge. Like, hey, maybe I don't train in the gi as much because we just don't do the gi, but it makes me think on another level. Like, oh, what if?
Yeah. And do you enjoy it?
I enjoy it, man. I've always enjoyed it. I've always been a guy like, again, I don't shy from the smoke, bro. I'll compete in the gi. I'll compete in no gi. Like,
no, I mean, do you enjoy teaching?
Yeah, teaching in general, but also, again, like, I've always been used to it. Like, as a young Marine to like a young adult to like where I'm at now, like teaching, I've always been something that I've done. It's kind of like been forced on me with the military life, but afterwards that experience helped me out in real time. Now we're like, yeah, enjoy it, man. It helps me see other people, different aspects of the game, see other people grow into something that I know I love.
Right.
I love doing jiu-jitsu and watching someone else be like, damn, dude, like I hit this, or I saw this, that you did that. And it was like, that's cool, because why? It expands the community.
Yeah, it's gotta be
more
motivating.
community is gonna allow us to get more view, like bigger picture, bigger scene, like helping other people is always gonna help whatever you're doing.
Right. And those small details, what you just said, like building the community is very important, man.
Dude, yeah, because if we don't have a community behind this, like the sport's not gonna get any bigger.
Yeah, it's
like,
true.
It'll die out, or it's just gonna get boring. Why? Because it's kind of like how certain promotions or certain tournaments go. You see the same amount of people. So if you don't find yourself going to other states to learn things or to go train or compete, you're going to be competing with the same people over and over again. So expanding that's where ADCC is big, because everyone comes to one location. Now you're going East Coast, West Coast, whatever the case may be. Like, everyone's hungry for the same mission, but you're picking up different competitors, different knowledge, different positions from everyone who's not around you.
Right.
And that's what cross training is, fire.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. That's one of the best ways to get better, is to see other styles, especially if you go to other state, like you're saying.
Yeah, I think that expands the game. When you're doing jiu-jitsu, cross train either in your local area, and if you got the time or the opportunity on a vacation or whatever, go train somewhere else, dude.
Yeah.
Try it. There's gonna be things you know and things you that maybe work for you over there that don't work here. Why?
Right.
Because everyone knows your game or you're used to being around these people. Go try it somewhere else or learn something new. It'll expand you as an individual.
100%, dude. Well, I mean, we're wrapping up. You got nothing else? I couldn't cut you off.
No, you're good, dude.
All right, man. Thank you for coming on. It was a great conversation. I had a lot of fun, bro.